One. So we're live. Holla.
Hey everyone, so excited to be here.
Yeah. So all right, let's start off by greeting. What's up, all of our This Is My Era goal getters. Thank y'all for being here. I'm in the relaxing comforts of my room right now. And I have the pleasure of being on the phone. It's Jaclyn DiGregorio. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm enjoying my Saturday morning, drinking my coffee, and excited to be with this awesome group of people.
Wonderful. I left my coffee in the other room. I'm too late. So we're gonna talk about some great things today. I'm gonna let you introduce it. You're the expert. You're like you're a guru in like all kind of things. So I'm gonna let you talk about what we're gonna talk about today.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks so much
Sure.
for having me. I'm so excited to not only be talking to everyone in this group, but be a part of this group. I use my This Is My Era planner every day, and I'm a big goal getter. So I hope that this information can be really helpful for some of you who might feel like some things are holding you back. So a little bit of background. I started my first company when I was 21 as a senior in college. And I grew that company. And through the learning of growing a business, especially as someone in their early 20s, I started to see that my biggest roadblock was myself. And I was holding myself back all the time because of my insecurities and my fears. And so I used this learning to start really researching these problems that people were facing and see how I could help people sort of get out of their own way. So I have a new book that's coming out in June, and it's called Stop Getting in Your Own Way, Overcome the Insecurities That Are Holding You Back and Create the Life of Your Dreams. So this conversation we're going to have today is based off of a lot of the things I talk about in that book, and we're just going to get right into it. So
Beautiful.
I found that there are three common fears or insecurities that hold people back the most. So the first one is a fear of failure. The second one is a fear of what other people think. And the third one is a fear of not being good enough. And I'm sure we've all felt them before. And so I've come up with strategies that really help sort of overcome those fears. And what I mean when I say overcome them isn't, sorry, these earphones like never stay in my ear. I have weird shaped ears. So I apologize if you guys see me touching my ears a lot. But when I think of overcoming fears, it's not about like making the fear go away. You'll always have the fear. So I'm a speaker and I speak on a lot of big stages. And every time I go on stage, I get nervous. And I'm sure, Star, you feel that way as a musician. Like you probably still get butterflies, right?
Sometimes it depends on the
Just
stage.
a little bit. Okay. So when you're on a big, big, big stage, like a really important, like
Yeah.
life-changing gig, like you're going to get nervous. Like the fear is going to be there when you're doing something that really pushes you. So it's not that I'm going to help you make these fears go away, but what I'm going to help you do is find the courage inside to take action, even though the fear is still there.
Sure.
So fear of failure. Strategy number one is understanding that if you're not failing, you're not learning. So what does this mean? We all have this idea of success that it's kind of, this staircase where it's like success is a different step and we keep going up by like, okay, we hit this one goal, right? We hit our 90-day goal and then we hit another 90-day goal and then we hit another 90-day goal and then we hit another 90-day goal and then we reach our dream, right? But that's not really how it works, because the only way that we can learn to get to that next level is to fail. Because how many times have you done something in your life that you did it right and then you're like, well, I did this right, but I didn't learn anything. So let me give you an example. Like there are choices I've made in my business that I did wrong, that really helped me educate my strategy for what I'm doing now. So when I named Cusp It, my first book is called The Cusp Method. And so it was named because of that. And it made like so much sense to me. I was like, this is a great brand. And then when I would go tell people about it, they'd be like, well, what does that mean? They were so confused. It wasn't like I could just say it and people would understand it. So
Mm.
when I was writing my second book, I'm like, I need to name it something that makes sense. So when I say stop getting in your own way, people get it. They might want to know more. They might want to say, oh, I like that. But they get it. They're not like, what's Cusp It? And so only did I have that learning because I failed. Because if I would have named Cusp It, body image or intuitive eating guide or something like that, which we focus on, then I wouldn't have had any idea. And I could have named my second book something that was really niche and really specific, and I would have made that mistake. And so you have to fail to
Interesting.
learn. And so that goes into the second strategy, which is you can't choose success without choosing failure. So first thing is that I am a firm believer that you can choose to be successful. So it's a choice that every single one of us makes. Whatever that dream in your heart is, It's a choice that you're going to make. Now, it doesn't mean you're not going to have to make sacrifices. It doesn't mean that it's not going to be incredibly difficult. It doesn't mean that it might not take 10 years to achieve. But the way to choose success is to either keep going, and that's your only choice, or you can choose to give up, and that's your other choice. And so at the end of the day, when you're on this journey, you're either going to choose success or you're not. And if you choose success, the only way to get there is to fail. And so I think that there's, again, going back to that staircase, there's this perception that it's success after success. But what the staircase really looks like is the horizontal line. So, you know, the part of the stair that's like this, that's your failure. And then the vertical line is the learning. And that gets you to the next step. And then you fail again, and then you learn again. And then you fail again, and then you learn again. And so when you make that choice to be successful, you're choosing to keep going after every failure. And each failure is bringing you learning, and eventually it's going to bring you to achieving that dream. So the only way to get over this fear of failure is to act. And at the end of the day, it's a choice that you have to make, and you have to be okay with the feelings that come along with failing. And it's not fun. And we've all failed before. And I've had some awful failures that I cried over, and they were horrible, but it's gotten me to where I am. So I'm open to choosing failure every single day. Do you feel like you've had to experience a lot of failures in your journey as a musician, as a business owner?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Every day, from the littlest, minutest details to big ones that you learn big lessons from. You know, it's definitely a part of the process. And as a musician, you know, we musicians and songwriters, we're sensitive.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we're sensitive, you know. So, you know, you eventually got to build up tough skin. I think a failure in the music industry is taking personally what other people judge about your music.
I love
Because,
this.
you know, yes, it's very true, because as a musician, as a songwriter, you're creating art that comes from you. And your art isn't for everybody. So
Right.
I've done things, a big failure that I've done is I've been very passionate about writing and recording songs. And then I let somebody in the music industry that I respect hear it, and they don't care for it. So I shelf it, and I never released it. And then a year later, 2 years later, I'm just playing, you know, my unreleased catalog in the car for people. And that same song, they're like, "What is that? That song is amazing." And I'm like, "Oh, no, it's not, because such and such said it wasn't all that great." They're like, "Well, forget that person. This song is great." And I never did anything with those songs because of opinions, you
That
know?
is such a good story. And I hope that you still do something with those songs. Like, don't let them be just a file on your computer when it could change someone's life and really have a positive impact in the world. And I'm so glad you brought this up, because our next fear is a fear of what other people think, which is exactly what you were talking about. So this one is huge. It is debilitating. And we all live this way, unfortunately, and I wish we didn't. So a couple strategies to you see this earbud? Like, if anyone has earbud tips, if you have weird ears, message me after this, because I could really use it. Okay, so strategy number one is go to the grocery store in your pajamas. Now, it sounds weird, but I want you to bear with me on this story. So when I wake up on Sunday mornings, I have my pajamas on, I'm super cozy, I start making my coffee, and I'm like, oh no, I need milk. I have to go to the grocery store. So I'm like, I guess I have to get changed, but my pajamas are so warm and so cozy, and I really don't feel like getting changed. And then I think to myself, wait a second, why do I want to get changed? The only reason I want to get changed is because I'm concerned what the neighbors will think if they see me in my pajamas in the grocery store. And I'm like, why am I going to live my life according to a fear of what other people think? And so I challenge you, anytime you're in a situation where you feel like the only thing that's holding you back from doing what you want to do is a fear of what other people think. And of course, don't let it be like harming people you love or dangerous or something like that. But if it's none of those, do it anyway. And so I go to the grocery store in my pajamas. I've posted about it on Instagram a bunch, and like, people think it's really funny, but it really builds my confidence. And so here's the special thing about this strategy. When you take action, despite that fear of what other people think, you start to build this muscle. It's like your resilience muscle. And so every time that the bigger decision comes, like releasing that song, even though you know this guy doesn't like it, you have so much more confidence to do it. So making decisions in your everyday life can start to help sort of push you forward into making those bigger decisions that act without regard to that fear of what other people think. So find your pajamas, whether it is actually going to the grocery store in your pajamas, maybe it's releasing that song, maybe it's, wearing that outfit that isn't the style or that other people are going to judge you for. And that kind of gets us into actually the next point, which is judgment in general. So the strategy number 2 for this is to remember that you can't please judgmental people. So just to illustrate this, I want you to picture the most judgmental person you've ever met. Like, I'm going to call her Debbie just because that name kind of reminds me of someone who's judgmental. I'm sorry if her name's Debbie.
No offense to any Debbies out there.
But okay, so Debbie's super judgmental. Like every time that you're with her, she's talking about someone. She's like, I can't believe she wore that. And then you see Debbie in person and she's like, I love your shirt. And you were like, you're just talking about her. Like two-faced, Debbie's just kind of not the person you want to be around. But for some reason, deep inside of you, you want to please Debbie. You heard that she didn't like that girl's shirt. So you didn't wear a shirt that looks like that because you didn't want Debbie to judge you. So deep down, you have this desire to please her, even though you know that she's super judgmental. Well, think honestly to yourself. Have you ever pleased Debbie? Most likely the answer is no. So why are you trying to do something that's impossible? Why are you trying to please someone who, 1, you don't care for, who doesn't add any value to your life, and 2, is impossible to please? Instead, the most important person to please is yourself. So let go of trying to please people who are judgmental. And if you want to better yourself, stop judging other people too, because it's a two-way street and we can't expect people not to judge us if we're judging them back. So that's how to sort of start to grapple with that fear of what other people think and take small actions and learn to let go of things. That's a powerful thing. Just, release it into the universe because that negative energy is just bringing you down and you don't want it in your life. So that's the fear of what other people think. So maybe Star can apply some of these tips and put those songs out there because we want to hear them.
100%. Yo, so to be 100% honest, Chills was one of them.
Love it. Chills is so good. It gives me chills.
I appreciate that.
See, that's so great.
I guess for our listeners, I have a song out. There was my January release called Chills. So just look up Alexander Star Chills and you'll hear it. It was actually, like I was saying, I played it for 1 or 2 people and I didn't see the reaction that I wanted. So I sat on it. This song is like a year old. And then I played it for myself a year later. I'm like, yo, this is hot. I'm putting this out.
And now it's out there in the universe and you guys better support him because it's awesome. I love that. That's so great. So the third fear, the final fear that I think is the worst fear, which is why I saved the worst for last, is the fear of not being good enough. And the reason that this fear is so horrible is because it doesn't even hold us back in our ability to act, but it holds us back in our ability to dream. So we're going to go through a short little exercise. And this exercise is going to really make you think. So I want you to close your eyes, everyone in the audience, and I want you to visualize what your ideal life is 10 years from today. So the sky is the limit. Anything you can possibly envision for you. Now, I'm going to ask you some questions to get you to really think about it. So, what are you most proud of? What does your career look like? How old are your children if you have them? Are you married? What time do you wake up in the morning? What time do you go to bed at night? What color are your bedroom walls? What do you eat for breakfast? What accomplishment are you just so proud of? What do you do on the weekends? Who do you spend time with? Who's really important to you? Do you donate money to charities you're passionate about? What are they? How much money do you donate? What kind of house do you live in? What does it look like? Okay, now I want you to just sit on this picture for a minute. You got it in your head? Okay, everyone has it. I want you to take that dream and make it bigger. If you were going to be donating $10,000 to a charity you're passionate about, now you're donating $1 million. If you were going to be a director or a vice president at the company you work for, now you're the CEO. Now, just think, I told you the first time that there were no limits. Yet somehow you put limits on those dreams. You didn't dream big enough. And now when I told you to dream bigger, you somehow found a way to make that dream bigger. So what was holding you back the first time? I told you the sky's the limit, right? It's this fear of not being good enough interlinked with this fear of failure. So we don't think we're good enough to achieve our dream and we're too scared that we're going to fail because what if in my head, listen, nobody knows what's in your head. Nobody heard this dream you visualized except you. But God forbid, what if in my head I visualize this dream and then I fail on it, right? What if I told myself that I want to write 10 New York Times best-selling books in the next 10 years, which means one a year, which probably sounds crazy to a lot of you. But by the way, if your dreams aren't embarrassing, they're not big enough. That's another thing. Like if you don't feel like a little anxiety trying to tell someone about them, they're not big enough. And so, you know, the fear of not being good enough has really hurt you because you've set your limits too low. Now, this doesn't mean that your goals need to be unrealistic. So I think there's a difference between setting goals and setting dreams. And you all should be really good at setting goals. And I hope that you're using your This Is My Era planner to achieve those goals. But your goals are on that staircase. So your goals are some of those progress levels. And then what happens is that every time you get close to the top, that dream should grow. So in an ideal world, I don't want you to ever achieve your dreams because they should grow with you until you're 95 years old. And so you need to understand that this fear of not being good enough is holding you back from dreaming big enough. So that's the first thing. That's really important. The second thing to understand is that you are not the victim, and that's the second strategy. So this one is hard for people to wrap their mind around because we live in this world that sort of focuses on this like American dream and like, you know, if you work hard enough, you'll get it. But then all these people are like, well, I have kids and I can't quit my full-time job because I need money. And I don't have time to start this business or work on that blog or whatever it is. And God, there's some people who are in really, really horrible situations. So some people are going to cringe when I say, you know, you're not the victim of your own circumstances. You are in control of your success. But at the end of the day, if you have, you know, 7 kids and you're wildly busy, but you have this dream to start this blog, if you get up just 15 minutes earlier than your kids every single day, do you know how much progress you would make on that dream by the end of the year? If you don't have any money to put into your business and you have to work 2 jobs, if you gave just 15 minutes and did things that were free, you start a free blog on the internet, you don't need a domain, you don't need anything. Do you know how much progress you would make in getting content out there and starting to build an audience? I mean, it's this drowning sense that we're the victim, and that comes from a fear of not being good enough. Because here's the thing, you don't think you're good enough. So instead you want to play this card that, well, it's not fair. I wasn't born in a family that gave me these opportunities. You know, I didn't have the ability to do X, Y, or Z. And you're going to blame that because it feels better than blaming yourself. Because we're all pretty self-centered and much more shallow than we would like to admit. So we feel bad when we blame ourselves saying like, no, I made a choice. I made a choice to be stuck in this circumstance, right? That's your decision. So as hard as this is to think about, getting over the fact that, hey, I don't want to be the victim. I want to be successful. I want to achieve that dream. How can I do something today, given my circumstances? One thing every day, 5 minutes, no money. It doesn't matter what it is that's going to work for you. How can I work towards it every day? I'm not saying that achieving that dream is going to be easy. If you dreamed big enough, it's going to be a lifetime in the making. 10 years isn't enough time. That might take you 50 years, right? But that's okay. I mean, that's what we want our dreams to be. And so at the end of the day, the fear of not being good enough is the worst fear because it's holding you back from what's inside of you. And not only do I feel bad for you if you have that fear, and I have it too, so I don't want to make you feel horrible about yourself. We all have it. But again, I fight to act despite that fear. But who I feel most bad for is the world. Because think of the things that are inside of you that could be changing lives in this world, that could be having an incredibly positive impact on others. But because you don't have the belief in yourself that you're good enough, you're not going to put them out there. Like that song that might change someone's life, that might be their tune every single morning when they wake up, that gets them out of bed even on the hardest days. But what if it's not out there? What happens to that person, right? So I want you to think hard about these things that might be holding you back that at the end of the day are sort of in your own hands and in your own head. And I want you to look in the mirror and push yourself and challenge yourself to be a better you and to overcome these insecurities that are holding you back, because you are so much better and more awesome than you could possibly imagine. And I want you to bring all of those gifts into the world to make it a better place.
Wonderful. I feel like fear of not being good enough is something that I've dealt with a lot until I realized some of the things that you're saying. It's like, okay, where do I start? See, this is dealing with insecurities. I feel like is everyone's number one, like, demon, for lack of better words. So for me, it's Oh my gosh, I'm getting choked up, guys. I don't. Yeah. Basically, you're not good enough until you realize that there's somebody who wishes they were at the level you're at. I read it in a Russell Brunson book that regardless of where you are in your level of expertise and whatever it is that you do, there's somebody that's at least 3 steps behind you that would love to know how to get where you're at. Regardless of where you think you're at, where you think you need to be at, you might not be where you need to be, but there's somebody who wishes they were where you are, regardless of where you're at. So I put that into perspective when I think about my own insecurities.
I love that. That's amazing. I'm going to remind myself of that because I don't want you guys. Also, I hate people on the internet who like pretend to be super awesome and super not real. So I still deal with all these insecurities, and that's why I talk about them. And sometimes I find them in my life and I'm like, no, this is so ironic. I'm trying to help people, yet here I am struggling. So we all struggle. So don't feel like you're alone if you're struggling. And I'm going to use that tip and try to think about that next time I'm feeling like I'm not good enough or I'm not far enough along and all those things we like to tell ourselves.
Yeah. Excellent. Yo, you got so many golden nuggets and you share so much with us. I really appreciate you. I know everybody tuning in and everybody who's going to watch this in post is going to really appreciate everything that you said.
I hope that you guys take some stuff away from it and make some positive changes in your life that can help you really achieve those goals you want to achieve.
Amen. 100%. So what's next? We got to direct them to where they can connect with you.
Awesome. So you can go to my website, which is my first name, last name. It's going to come up on the screen because I'm not going to be able to spell it for you. Jaclyn DiGregorio. Well, I can spell my name, obviously, but it would take me a while. It's kind of long. JaclynDiGregorio.com. That has a lot of info about my speaking. Follow me on Instagram. It's, again, first name, last name, so same thing. And I'll be posting updates about my book, and I'll continue to show you how in my own life I try to overcome these insecurities. And yeah, it would be great to connect. Feel free to email me too. There should be a contact form on my website if you want to connect further. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate this community so much. And I'm so thankful to be a part of it.
So I just found you. Bow. Follow.
Honored. Wow.
Sweet.
I have, this is an honor, like stars following me. I mean,
stop it. Stop it. I appreciate you, Jaclyn. It's been an incredible Goal Getters. This is my era team Facebook group. We appreciate y'all. Look out for her podcast coming soon.
Yeah.
And if you haven't subscribed to This Is My Era of the Podcast, do it. Just This Is My Era of the Podcast on Spotify, iTunes, whatever. Oh, leave a review because we want to become popular and we want to share more and more of this stuff with more and more people. So if y'all leave reviews and put 5 stars and stuff, iTunes shows us higher in the ranking.
I'm going to do that right now when we hang out.
Oh, sweet.
5
Much
stars,
love and appreciation. Awesome. All right, everybody. Remember, you're one goal away. This is your era. Jaclyn DiGregorio. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Peace.